I'm watching my cell phone, the official timekeeper.
Jessica, you might notice I did make you co-host. So if you can help me keep an eye on things, I appreciate that. Looks like we are out in the world of YouTube now.
At last minute really crawls. 9 o'clock. We'll call the meeting of the Criminal Justice County Affairs Committee to order. And our first line of business is a call to the public. Do we have anybody on?
No, Mr. Chairman, there is no public on.
All right, well, they'll have a chance later in the meeting. I think this is going to be a quick one, so. The first item of business we have is consider approving the fiscal year 2021 county child care proposed application in the amount of $1,674,630.82. Children under the jurisdiction County Circuit Court Family Division to assure safety, well-being, permanency, rehabilitation of our most vulnerable population, and that the chair be authorized to sign the HHS 2091. Well, I see we had an update on the packet that actually includes one of the sheets of the grant application. Well, we'll turn this over to, I don't know if Tony or Carrie want to take the.
Well, I guess I feel like I need to definitely have some comment, and I want everybody to really acknowledge Carrie for her leadership, as well as her collaboration with our department towards really looking at cutting our budget and being very mindful of the taxpayers' money that goes towards the County Child Care Fund budget. We have had a number of challenges with changes that have happened with the County Child Care Fund throughout the time Carrie and I have worked together on the budget, which has been a little over 5 years. And Carrie has always been very proactive, and she has been just an incredible partner in helping our department roll through these changes and communicating it to our staff, and really looking at the budget line by line and making sure that we're saving as much money as we possibly can, as well as looking for innovative ways to make sure that needs are being met in the community by not only the children, but also the families involved with those children. So I just really want to give a shout out to her at how incredible she has been through this process despite COVID. And like I said, I just really want to make sure that she's acknowledged for the level of dedication she has to this process.
Well, thank you. I think I certainly agree with you. We've had great staff, and that includes the court. Thank you, Carrie.
I don't know what to say to that, but thank you.
Not a
That's a
follow-up.
lot. So this year, what we really decided to do is try to replicate 2020 as far as what we are seeking reimbursement wise. We didn't think it was really very appropriate to try to base anything on what has happened this year, because I don't think this year is, I don't think it's anything any of us want to try to predict. Using those numbers, I guess, might be the easiest way to say it. So it's very, very similar to what we presented to you for 2020's budget. There is a small decrease of transportation line item in Tony's area where they no longer fund it. And she can speak more to that if we need to. Otherwise, she and I continue to collaborate and work with staff and make sure that we're providing the best for these kids at the best prices that we possibly can. And I always include, it only takes one family, one child, one situation to sort of change this budget dramatically. So
Yeah,
So,
go ahead, Frank, you can go ahead.
so leading off what Carrie said about the transportation component that we had on MDHHS's side of the budget. Last year, the state started a process where the state is actually making all of the county child care fund payments first, and then reimbursing the county 50%. Whereas prior to that, it was the exact opposite, where the county had to come up with 100% of the county child care fund budget costs, and then the state would reimburse the 50%. So now that we're making all of those payments, we no longer have a sub account. So those are all processed through our MySACWIS system, which is a computer system to make payments in child welfare. So the transportation line item that we had on there can all be handled through our system. So then the county would still be reimbursing 50% of those. But we didn't need an extra component for that because the county's no longer making those payments directly. So we were able to reduce the budget by $22,000 for this year as a result of that.
Okay. Frank, did you have a comment or question?
Well, she just addressed it a little bit on the difference in 100%. And it sounds like that's a good thing, but I hate to be suspicious, but is that a good thing that they're going to pay 100% and bill the counties later? I mean, it sounds a lot better than the system before.
Well, it does prevent the county from having to come up with 100% of the cost up front. So the state is actually upfronting that money. So like, for example, and Isabella is not a good example to use, but there are a lot of counties in Michigan that really struggle to be able to provide that money up front. And what happens is we won't have enough money in our sub account to be able to pay foster parents, and we have to wait for the county to put money in our account to be able to process those. So that kind of got rid of that whole issue, because obviously the state has the money to pay that up front, and then just asks the county to reimburse the 50%, which keeps your cash flow higher at any given time.
Okay, we just had a quarterly financial report, and I noticed that the cost for childcare was down considerably. Could that be looked at as maybe some of the children aren't, and the families aren't getting the services because they're falling somehow through the cracks, or what was the reason for that?
I really do believe, and that was why I started out with this. Carrie and I are very diligent with the county child care fund budget, and we have come in way under budget for a number of years. And going back like 5 years when Carrie and I first started working on it together, there was really a lot of mismanagement with the county child care fund budget. And it took us a period of time to get all of that under control. Like, for example, old bills that hadn't been paid for long periods of time, where we still owed the money, but it significantly impacted how much the county child care fund budget was. Carrie and I try to maintain the budget to the same standard, because going back to what she said, it only takes one child, and we don't want to be in a position where we don't have enough money and we need to ask for more. So it has been our viewpoint that we would rather ask for more just in case, and still be very fiscally responsible in making sure that that we're using that money wisely. And Carrie, if you want to expand on any of that.
So just a couple of comments. I think COVID had a lot to do with our youth placements. Many of the facilities, residential, and that type of thing, were not accepting patients. We call them patients, but we're not accepting residents for a time. So the placement options we had were very limited. I think also, law enforcement was much more selective on the types of things that they were pursuing. So if they were low-level probation violations, then we tried to handle them with the probation officers a little differently than, I guess, maybe a little less intensive than what we normally would, because we didn't have as many options. So that certainly saved some money in those areas. On our end, there weren't a lot of new charges coming through because of all the closures and those types of things. I don't think there were as many eyes in the community watching what some of our youth were doing. They weren't in school, which school tends to be, one area where we do find out a lot of things about what's going on. So that added another component to it. And as far as the outstanding bills, I just wanted to speak to that a little bit. It wasn't that we weren't necessarily paying them, it's that we weren't necessarily receiving them from the vendors.
Yeah.
One was on top of that saying, hey, we know that we have some outstanding issues with your company that we should have been billed upon. And once we started making those contacts and setting deadlines for them to submit those bills, then that really is what kind of started clearing this up.
Okay. Well, I know from the county board, we certainly appreciate your diligence and management of the budget. At one time, this was really a volatile area, and it has stabilized, like you said, over the last 5 years, and hasn't been having the same unexpected impact that prior county boards had to face. So we thank you for that.
Well,
Frank, do you have
for-
anything else?
Nope, I'm all set. In fact, I will move that we send the fiscal year 2021 county chair care proposal applications to the board.
I will second that. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. With only two. The motion passes. Thank you, ladies. Appreciate all that you do for the county and for the children of our county.
Thank
and
you.
families.
Thank you.
We're down now to we have an item called the public again. Anybody on?
There is no public that has joined the meeting, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Well, with that, we'll adjourn the meeting and thank everyone for coming this morning.
Thank you.
Stay safe.
Yep. Frank, I have a question for you.
Yes.
I was to coach